Call the meeting to order at 6:03. And in front of you are the minutes from the last meeting. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Hopefully they're accurate.
I make a motion to approve the meetings as written.
I will second.
Any discussion? Any changes?
This I was able to read.
Yeah.
Did you send this one earlier?
That's because John sent it to me.
I use Google Docs.
What are we talking about?
I'm gonna have to figure it out.
All in favor?
Well, I'm waiting for Joe.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I just have one question.
Yep.
And it was last meeting, the meet before, did the town, or did this committee decide to buy the lot on Wilson Lake, or did they decide to discuss it with the selectmen?
We recommended to the selectmen that they look into it.
Look into it, so do it, okay, because they came across that it was approved by this committee.
We voted in favor of having the selectmen look into it, and
Look into it, but you.
we can't tell them to buy it.
We can't tell them to buy it, that's
Okay.
their decision.
All right,
We don't
okay.
have that kind of authority.
No, but I mean, if that's the way they state, I believe that's what they stated.
Well, that's, if they read the motion.
My optometrist.
What's that?
Never mind, I'm sorry, please continue.
That was the.
Okay.
Right.
Anything else? All those in favor?
I know.
Aye. So 6-0. Okay. Chair report. There was a couple of things that we talked about the last meeting. One was talking to a game warden, and I did talk to Jen about that, and she said that that's something that the board would have to do. And along with writing a letter to an ATV club, that's in their bailiwick. We can recommend to them, like we did with the Wilson Lake law, but to do that, but that's how she framed it. So, and the Wilson Lake lot, if you haven't heard, was purchased or approved to be purchased by the vote of the town people. And I, talking to Jen about that, she said, you know, that it's in the lawyer's hands now to do all the fancy paperwork. Right? The third thing, the chainsaw safety course. If you're interested, I sent contact information for that. I asked, there's a gentleman that was heading this up. I asked if he had like a blurb that we could put on the website, the town website, and he hasn't gotten back to me. So he's a steward for the Three Rivers Land Trust. And one thing I was thinking of.
Who was it? Do you remember the name?
Carl Davis?
Huh?
Carl Davis?
No. I could look
Was
it up.
it
but-
George?
No,
Okay.
no. A younger fellow.
That's all relative.
This hit me after the town meeting and all that, but when we submitted the ordinance for the committee to the town, we sent it to the selectmen, and my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was gonna be at the next town meeting for a vote.
This upcoming one, or did you mean the special one?
This one that just happened.
So it was talked about the board. The reason it wasn't added was because it's an ordinance, it would have to have like a 30-day, there's a specific timetable
Yeah.
that would be needed before it can be voted upon to have like
Public
a
hearing, public discussion.
public discussion or something like that. And with some of the issues that were coming up, they were time sensitive, so we tried to get that in order to get the special town meeting on the calendar for the time that we did, in order to get the things that we needed to get done. We pushed it for the next one so that we'll be able to have that public forum. I can't remember the exact terminology, but and meet those requirements.
So will that be next
April. April is the things time that we're looking at.
All right.
Because I tried, I made sure, because we kept it on there for quite a while. But then, because of that time on that, I think it's a 30-day period, I can't remember exactly what the specific timeline was.
Yeah, I think you're. All right. That's what I had for the chair report. In old business, I had next steps of action for the Hebo-Hibo lot. And Jen, and I think you texted me about signage. And I think this might be a time that would be good to
Did some?
make some language and see what we want to put on a sign or signs on each side of the lot as you go down the road.
Do you think it'd be vandalized?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think more of a reminder that it is public
Right.
property, please be respectful. Because that's been part of the issue, not exactly respectful use of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it needs, in my opinion, I don't think it needs to be anything, monumental, no pun intended, but just to have it be like I said, a little placard being like, you're now entering, a town forest or something like that. Again, I just think that if we have everyone know that this is public property, there are, even if only irregularly, eyes watching this place.
Yeah,
If we put it along the frontage, on the corners by the road, you'll have one saying here, that, like for example, on the Hebo-Hibo, when you came to the wall on the left, when we come onto the
Yeah.
frontage of it, just have one or two going down that side as such that you can see this is where the front corner is, and then along the frontage, and then again on the bottom edge. So again, because if every woods road into the property, if you only mark the corners and say, hey, we're coming onto the town property, and it's a half a mile down the road, then nobody's gonna pay any attention to it at all. If you have one of those little placards once every 100 feet, let's say, along the frontage.
along the frontage of the road, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
because again, on that property specifically, we have land on both sides.
Right.
The frontage on the left is much longer than the frontage on the right.
Correct.
But again, the concept is if everybody seems to want to jump off of the Hebo-Hibo road to go four-wheel down in the brook, then having it just at the beginning and the end is not really going to do all that much. So I don't know that it necessarily needs to be, some blinking neon,
Yeah.
you are now entering the town of Acton property. But if you make sure that everyone regularly sees upon a distance that this frontage is the town property, I think that'll get you farther than, like I said, putting up something larger or more descriptive at the corners.
So are you suggesting two different signs? One on where the property line crosses the road and then along the road?
No, again, I don't know that we need to have anything radical other than to just simply say town of Acton, town forest property, and then put it so that you can identify where the corners are and then along the frontage. I don't know that it needs to be two
I
signs.
think with the access, the inability to put signs out on the road, whether it's Hebo or the other one, you'd entice people to go, say, hey, I wonder where this is, and then they could possibly get stuck or off the beaten track, and you get in a situation, you might have a search and rescue, you don't know, and some of the stuff, this terrain is not, it's like somebody drives by, sees a sign, says, oh, wow, I'm gonna go check. They did that with Mary Grant, people
Yeah.
come up there, when people pulled a camper, and they thought,
I mean, land trusts are doing the same thing. It's just a little 4x4,
Yeah.
aluminum placard that says town, Three Rivers Land Trust
yeah,
down
Yeah,
the frontage
that's
and
small.
all the way around it.
Yeah,
We wouldn't have to do the all the way around it thing, but certainly we would want to let everyone know this is where the town property is, please respect it. And then hopefully that would put, a little goodwill to the four-wheelers that are doing some of the damage and keep some of the dumping and the four-wheeling down off of the property that's being damaged for it.
are you suggesting having the same sign on both lots?
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there a reason why I mean, obviously, in time,
Yeah.
if we start to have other activities on the property, then maybe we want to have a placard or a kiosk or a more descriptive sign or something to that effect. But certainly, first case scenario, the biggest thing we need to do is to identify it as town land. And that being the case, I don't know that in my mind, don't need to see anything.
Is it town
different.
land and a conservation area? Or conservation?
So, yeah, I mean, we can talk over
yeah.
the wording of it. I mean, if you only have a little thing that, was on
Yeah.
a 6-penny nail going into a tree every, except 100 feet down the road, you're not gonna get a whole, comprehensive plan stuck on a little 4x4 placard, but at least we can have it identified as being the town property, please respect it as such. or
You can
something.
also elaborate on the big piece there, you can actually maybe in the middle put like a little gravel.
Well, again, we can do that, but right now.
Map of like,
Right.
you're here, and then say, it's a,
That will happen in time. Right
In
now, I
time,
think
okay.
we're trying to mitigate the damage that's happening.
And identify the property.
Yeah.
Can people, just thinking ahead of time, in the summertime, can people hike in there and camp if they want?
Don't know.
See that, those are all things I was just thinking about, what if,
Yeah.
we gain attention to it, people go, oh, maybe I can hike in there and set up a
yeah,
camp.
they will.
And I don't know if that's okay or not, it'd be great, but I just want to make sure that it's conservation somehow, people recognize it's conservation
Yeah.
area.
Well, sometimes people, that means different things to different people,
Correct, I get it, yeah.
Somebody else say, wow.
You can call it, we can call it the town forest, we can call it town of Acton conservation land, whatever, we can work that out. But again, to me, the first things first is to identify it in order to hopefully gain a little more respect for it.
Yeah,
So what about line? What do we want on the sign? 'Cause
Again, either town of Acton, town forest, and then use the same, again, if you're gonna have to get these things,
mass.
several hundred of them or something, just to be used wherever we happen to acquire a piece of property, we wanna make it be generic enough that we can use them on each. So again, just something, whether you wanna call it Town of Acton Town Forest or Town of Acton Conservation Land, which then would generate later more descriptively, a different style of sign somewhere where there's a parking area or a turn off or something like that. But again, I think
Down
just
there.
identifying it
Yeah.
as town property, town conservation land would probably be somewhere,
I think conservation should be in there,
yeah.
because that'll put something in the person's mind who's gonna go in there.
But yeah, not run over.
That, hey, by the way, don't go four-wheeling up the brook or something
Yeah.
like that,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Town of Acton,
Conservation land.
Conservation forest, conservation. Town of Acton Town Forest, underneath it conservation land. Or something
Again,
like
I'm
that.
open to anything like that, but the word conservation, I agree, should be in it.
Yeah,
And again, just whether or not size and spacing and fonts and all that jazz, we would have to figure out on the fly, but.
I'm trying to remember what I saw over to Shapley's Town Forest, if they had conservation land. I know the Waldeboro Town Forest does it, the Ellsworth Town Forest does it, they just have town forests.
mhm.
And, and then, eventually
big
they put up
plaque, yeah.
a kiosk and with a map and
Right,
tip information and,
right,
carry in, carry out, all that stuff,
right.
So, Town of Acton, Town Forest, Conservation Land, so
Yep.
3 lines, or Town of Acton, Town Forest, period.
Again, conservation.
I think conservation should be in the thing.
So can we write, do we have to write Town of Acton? Can we write Acton Town Forest, first line, and underneath it conservation area or conservation land?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Does it
why not?
have to be Town of Acton or can it be Acton Town Forest? Daniel, do you have any idea? Does it?
I don't know, I think it's like, have suggestions and ask the board and see if they had any preference. I don't know if we have to be, I guess if it's for the town of Acton, every town of Acton makes sense, but
Mhm.
I don't know if that's just.
But if we go on this historical document, that clearly says Acton Town House. So, good arguments on both sides, I think.
That's why I don't know, I guess we can come up with a proposal and just. if that's what
Maybe come up with
consensus,
2 and then
what's
bring them to
wrong.
the board?
I think the board will probably go along with whatever you vote, as long as it's not like anything crazy.
Yeah.
this is it.
Like, Google. No, I would just, maybe Acton Town Forest, underneath it, write conservation, something.
Yeah.
That's the second
Well,
word
I
I
don't know why
added.
you can't put conservation, like town of Acton's conservation land.
Okay,
And they can obviously see it's a forest,
And that would be more consistent, like you were saying, just like if you're gonna do it at multiple places, no matter what property, whether the town gets any more in the future, whatever, it's all just consistent, and it's not like naming a specific location, it's just the generic like
Town of Acton Conservation.
conservation land or
Yeah, that sounds
whatever.
good. Yeah.
Makes it better, if you get a couple extras, you can use them for future, or whatever town decides to do with the properties.
Like over at Wilson Lake or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta put,
well, you can be careful. Well, no, people, I have a funny feeling people are gonna use that more than just parking.
Well, that's okay,
You know,
I think
I've
it's
seen
okay if they
We
use
see it
it.
everywhere, it's like
they were already using it.
people
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back and it's just like, they see a deer and they immediately, that's it, that's the first place they go
Yeah,
hunting, and it's like, I see it,
yeah,
Get out of Horn Pond, get out of
Yeah.
Horn Pond on a hot day. And tell me
Not now.
how many
Not now
local
with the
people.
fence.
Huh?
Not now with the fence.
No, it's down by the dam.
Oh,
the
yeah,
dam.
Down by the
yeah,
dam.
yeah.
I mean,
So
if
we
this
have-
if this is going to end up being a process, then let's just broach the concept of the signage first.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And we can figure out, I mean, again, when we've got, an ordinance in front of the town that hasn't yet been approved to say technically what we can do, what we can, who we are, this, that, and the other. I don't want to jump in necessarily with both feet and be going through this thing like we did the comprehensive plan to find out that it's just dead in the water and it doesn't make it out of the selectman's office regardless. So let's just stick with right now the concept of saying, let's sign it, identify it, and here is the way we would do it, and then we'll worry about the specifics when we start to get the approval that it can be done.
Okay, so we had two suggestions, Acton Town Forest Conservation Land or Town of Acton Conservation Land. One
Town
or
of
two?
Acton Conservation Land.
What's
Town of
that?
Acton
Town of
Conservation.
Acton Conservation Land?
Yeah, I think that's the simplest.
That's simple, yeah.
If you're using the same sign for everything, then I would not be so specific as to say town forest necessarily.
Okay, so everybody seems to agree that the second Town of Acton Conservation Land.
Correct.
Sounds good.
So now, we ought to have a motion that recommends this is the signage and send it on to the select board. Does that make sense? So they know we're not just whistling in the wind.
Great.
I make a motion that we make the suggestion to the board that our signs read Town of Acton Conservation Land.
I second it. The other thing is, should we look into perhaps what sort of material they would use?
Well, I
Let it
think,
be like an aluminum, piece of aluminum, be more expensive, or wooden?
Well, again, we've got a little homework to do, but I would suggest it be,
But I'm just
I would
saying,
suggest it either be 4x4 or 6x6 square
yeah,
of a bright-ish color with the writing on it. And then again, usually the way most land trusts do it is you just, nail it with a loose nail to the tree. That way the tree can grow and it doesn't just immediately start to bend and break within the tree.
some of the land
line.
trusts must have already done that, so they must know where they got it. or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other sign companies, and some of them are like, heavy plastic. I don't know if I would recommend that. I would think that would probably break after it freezes and thaws a bunch, but that's part of the homework that we can figure out. Right now, we just need to get this to where the signage is approved, and we'll start to come back to say, okay, here's the cost for this, here's the size, here's the font, here's the material,
do you
whatever.
think, Dan, do you think the board wants those specifics at this point, or just,
I'm just gonna call point of order here. We have a first and second motion on the floor that we have not all approved yet,
Okay.
so we need to go back to
So
that.
it
we're
is-
debating the motion, we're
Yeah.
debating the motion,
Oh, did we debate the?
Well, the
motion?
motion,
we're debating the motion,
Oh, okay.
whether to include material,
Oh, right, in the motion, okay, thank you.
Okay?
Sorry for my clarification.
No, I see where you were going. And then what Jen also said in an email, and maybe you did, the town may have a source for signs that they would use for this.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So,
That's more details, correct? You know, you wanna know our size and what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
but I think your point is well said, that let's see if they approve the sign concept.
Yeah.
All right? So I'll call a vote?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's fine. I was just gonna say, we obviously can pass along to Daniel about, you know, this is roughly our intentions. We're not talking about, you know, billboards, we're talking about, you know, small signs. So, you know, if you know that that's the case, we don't want this to go sideways when it hits the board. You can have an idea of what our intentions are by this sign, but we don't want to get that specific just
Yeah.
yet.
No, I don't think you need to be, I mean, when I think about things that get done in the other projects, people say this is what they want, and then later, they're like, yeah, give us more information. That's when, kind of when it's approved, like, okay, what company you're gonna use, because then you kind of step, if this is the company that is the best, what options that they have.
Right.
You know, because they may have some, they may have all, they may not have the ones that you folks are talking about right now, so I think as it gets closer to
Yep.
actually making.
Okay, so we've got our second, and I'm fine with any discussion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Good, 6-0. So I had two old businesses, one the Hebo High lot and the Town Farm lot, but the signage would cover for both. Is there any other action that we would suggest for the Hebo High lot at this point? Okay. How about the Town Farm lot?
I mean, well, again, we've already outlined some of our long-ranging goals of saying, okay, if you want something on the Hebo-Hibo, an update to the plan might be possible, and if anything's happening with the Town Farm lot, you're now butting up against that concept of do we or don't we do anything in the woods again. But
How old's the
timing of it.
Town Farm lot?
You had to ask.
I know. I don't have it with
Was it 19? I
Could've
want to
been.
say it was something like that.
me. 18 maybe, because it was before I got here.
Okay.
But the
The plan there doesn't need to be amended. I'm not finding anything out there from the walks that we've had recently
for the
that has
town,
got, for the Town Farm
Right.
Road lot, right. So I don't think an update to that plan is necessarily recommended or required.
okay,
There's a lot more going on with damage and vandalism and 20-something years of growth on the Hebo-Hibo lot, as far as that goes. But again, that goes to the question of, even if we identify it, even if we recommend something, is it gonna go anywhere?
well, that's, we gotta find that out.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just trying not to put the cart before the horse, that's all,
Right.
so.
I guess, in my mind, an update at the Hebo-Hibo lot is probably warranted if we ever want to do anything out there in the near future.
Including if there's any mitigation for the damage that's going on.
Correct.
Whether that be the damage of, you know, the ice storm damage that we saw where a lot of stuff was laid down,
Right,
or the, you know, damage to the brook and vandalism from the ATVs.
right.
So it wouldn't necessarily have to be like a, hey, we have to go start from scratch and rewrite the entire
No,
plan.
Right, right.
But definitely a detailed walk and report back to be added to it would be
So that's,
suggested.
okay, so now we're in a kind of a tricky spot here. Because if we're gonna do that, I don't know, the board's probably never done this before, but here we are suggesting an update on the Hebo-Hibo lot management plan, which involves the town forester, and money. So, at what point do we say, this is what we want to happen, and then does the board negotiate with him for-
I mean, the obvious first part of it is I just abstained from anything other than
You-
just giving.
you were going-
Yeah, that's fine. That's a given.
Yeah, yeah.
But beyond that, yeah, by all means.
I mean, I think that's something I can ask the board, because I don't know, like, I'm not sure when the last time you would know anything like this has been done. It's been years, right, before a management.
Nothing has happened to the lot since it was harvested a few years after the plan was written.
Yeah, so I think that'd be a good question to ask the board, like, what the process would be, because I don't know, I don't think anyone on the board has gone through this either.
So would it be prudent for us to make a recommendation to the board to have an update on the management plan for the Hebo-Hibo lot?
I think so.
And see where it goes?
I think if that's what the committee feels, it would be good to, if that's the recommendation you make, but also kind of give some information, I guess, to why the recommendation is made. Mention about the workshop, the concerns, the reasoning of like why this committee feels that's necessary.
Okay.
Because I feel like thinking that to the board, that would probably be some of the questions they ask, like why do we think this is what needs to be done at this time?
Okay.
Don't look at me, I can't.
You're out of this. You're out of this.
I know. I'm trying to read your mind from here.
All right. Okay.
I mean, you can share your thoughts and everything as the expert that you are with this information. I mean, you're the person who is putting everything out and talking to us about, like, as we did those visits. You just can't, technically, I guess you could, but you shouldn't vote.
Yeah.
Sure,
So you
sure.
can
Well,
speak
and again, I'll
be
just be
the
really
expert.
brief over the concept. The plan has reached some level of maturity, and there is activity on the site which is dictating some level of action, whether that be just signage or forest health and or ATV damage. All of these things are going to require eyes on the ground, more than just walking up and down the road and going, yeah, I think I see A, B, C, and D. So if there are thoughts that we should be active on that lot, it will require more information to give anyone, this committee and the selectmen, enough information to judge.
Okay, so if we, it's not a motion, just throw out,
Yeah,
we recommend that there's an update in the management plan on the Hebo lot for the following reasons. Activities on site, forest health, damage to the lot,
TV activity,
I'm sorry,
extra,
yeah, I would be somewhat
Vehicle.
specific with, I mean, if you say, hey, the,
okay, wait,
Yeah.
I can't.
I would be somewhat specific as to say, there are forest health concerns with the storm damage that we saw. There are also, for the lack of a better term, vandalism concerns that are affecting the, if you want to get all, conservation about it, whether that makes people's ears perk up. The headwaters of the Little River are being run in by side-by-sides and four-wheelers.
Where does the Little River come from? Or where is it going?
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Do you need more information than, yes,
Well,
that's where it comes from?
We got the Salmon Falls, we got Ossipee, we got Grady.
No, that's where it comes from. The Little River, the head of the Little River is the brook that goes down parallel to the Hebo-Hibo Road.
Okay,
And there are four-wheeler trails that have left Hebo-Hibo Road, go in 100 to 150 feet on town property, and the trails then turn and literally run up and down the brook. Rutting and sedimentation and all those nasty things.
does that end out in Loon Pond, or?
No, it just keeps going all the way down into Lebanon. It crosses over down by Potter's Campground
Okay,
and then goes all the way down under 202, and that's where it starts to get into, the real river,
Yeah, Santa Monica.
The
rather than
Salmon
a brook.
Falls, okay, all right.
So however you would want to craft that to be more persuasive, to give enough information so that it rises to the level of, we should do this, in terms of saying this isn't just like a, hey, I think the trees are getting a little tired, we should do something. This is a little more than that.
Right. So, John, what do you have for reasons?
Vandalism, damage by ATV traffic, forest health concerns from the storm damage.
Yep.
That's what I got.
Okay.
Within the lot, I just, if,
On the lot.
meaning like, the road, everyone knows that the road is being damaged and used by the ATVs, but I might add that something that implies that the brook is within the lot and the damage is within the town property, not just in the road itself. However you would word that.
You want to call that a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that
We update,
we update the plan regarding the Eagle Harbor lot due to forest health, due to this ice storm, and vandalism by ATV damage
Within town property.
within town property. To the select board?
you got that, John?
Not really well said. I bumped it off the car.
Update the plan for the Hebo Highway lot due to the storm damage and the vandalism damage by ATV traffic within the town property.
I think it might, if you include forest health.
In forest health.
Yeah, the storm damage is really the vehicle for the part of the
Forest health.
forest health, so I wouldn't be above just keeping that a little more broad. In
Forest health.
that, yeah.
Yeah, forest health and,
We want everyone to know that there are specific concerns within forest health, not just, hey, the woods are getting older.
Right.
However, but the,
We're saying like forest health to include storm damage from
concerns, forest health concerns,
concerns.
you know,
Yeah.
including,
including,
A
storm
storm damage.
John's typing away.
Kelly makes a motion that we update the plan for the Hebo Highway lot due to forest health concerns, including storm damage and vandalism from ATV traffic within the town property.
To determine damage caused by,
Yeah, to determine damage.
to determine extent of damage.
anything like that,
Yeah.
you know.
Good job, Kelly.
Tried. A lot of words there.
Yeah, that's all right.
To determine the forest health concerns, I'm sorry, I think I got that a little switched around. Determine the forest health concerns, including the extent of storm damage?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Damage to the road and the stream, damage to the lot. I think that's what you said. You good with that, Wayne?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sure.
Now, this goes to the selectmen,
I'm sorry?
this goes to the selectmen,
Yes.
and it's just an update on what we think is going on.
Update of the management plan
Okay.
that Steve wrote 20 years ago.
So yeah, we want to update it so we can continue, we can move forward with
Right.
plans to, but right now, we don't have the verbiage to be able to move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have the information to determine what course of action we need to take,
Right.
because we don't know the extent of the forest health of the damage.
Okay,
Okay. So, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Wayne? All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? So 501. And John, if you can make sure that you identify that Steve abstained.
I will.
Thank you. For the rest of the people that, besides you and I, didn't live through the whole conflict of interest thing, so. All right, well, that's good.
Nice.
Do we want to do anything on the town farm lot? Besides the signs?
I mean, eventually I like
I
that.
haven't made it up there yet.
Okay,
I've been busy getting ready for the winter.
yeah. Blowing leaves, right?
No, I don't clean up leaves, I just mulch them.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, we just mulch them too. You know, I have a lot of plants I think that could be happening up there,
Yeah.
but none of it is able to be start until we kind of, I want to know what, we have to have like, I think a.
Signage has to come first, I think.
Signage first and then build up from there. You
Yep.
know, I'd like to see it to be more of a public spot for different things, but that's in the future, you know. You know, kids, you know, having signs on it that have different plants or whatever, so we could use it as, you know, educational, you know,
The farmhouse cellar
agriculture.
hall, the.
Yeah,
the
all of that
well,
stuff,
The
yeah.
barn cellar hall.
Yeah,
They did have the trees marked over at Mary Grant.
yeah,
It was nice.
yeah, man, we
It was,
like,
and then something happened to them.
yeah, we don't know what happened to them.
Well,
Really?
Yeah, we had trees labeled at Mary.
On the ground or?
It- some of
No,
them
years
were-
ago, maybe
Yeah.
10 years.
No, we still had, there's still some there.
Yeah, I've seen it,
Carl Davis did it. He did a nice,
yeah.
it was in the very beginning. And then,
Yeah.
I think what happened, basically happens is different people have different perspectives on these things. They take over and eventually things get changed, you know? You know, it's like,
What kind of marking are you talking about? Like, this is a white
It's a
pine,
little
this is an
sign.
oak?
It's
or-
a-
Yeah, white pine.
there was a Texas,
you
I don't know if
know.
it was a white pine, there was a Texas, there was a spruce. And there was one Texas, which was unusual to be around. I think they planted that, but it was good size. But it was just unusual to see it there. And I think with Carl, I mean, the only thing we planted plants there, but they were clearing and they were burning brush. I said to Carl, I said, you're polluting the neighborhood. So I drove my truck up, I said, here, you got all these kids from there. I said, here, have them load this truck up and I haul the brush off instead of burning it. So, you know, it's like, and he went along with it, you know, and it took a while to, I think the thing was there's different groups of people were involved in it, with different ideas is what,
Yeah.
and then what, it is what it is today, so.
Is there a homeschool group in town?
There is,
I mean, organized, more or less organized group?
We do. There's actually, it's not just this town though, it's a collection of towns. It's called the HOPE, Helpful Homeschooling, and it covers Waterboro, Acton, Shapley, and I think Newfield.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big group. We have, our logo is an owl called Who, you know, so there is a homeschool group. And we are always doing different group things about agricultural for like main sciences is a big thing that
Yep.
all kids have to have, as you know. And, you know, when I look at conservation land, I look at what an opportunity to bring the kids up.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Recognizing,
Yeah.
you know, what Maine has to offer unfortunately, before it goes away. We hope it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we do, right? We forest and conservation. So they're there for generations to come. So that's what I would like to see happen at the town farm, is to become a site of educational, kind of like Mary Grant, and kind of just have that ability to use that as local
But with the
history.
foundations and
Yeah.
that's huge.
I don't know if this is getting a little sideways, but.
I know it is.
No, I'm talking something different, not.
No.
I'm going sideways in a different direction.
Yeah.
Has Mary Grant been allowed to do with or without specific selectmen's approval? Like you're talking of burning this, labeling that, doing these things. I'm just curious because if we're talking like the signage and we're going back and getting permission for every little thing, where has the Mary Grant committee been in that activity with regard to selectmen's oversight?
Well, in regards to Mary Grant, it's not like a town, like, owned property, right? It was.
Yes, it is.
It is? Oh. There's something where it's very minimalistic, like, the things that they do is just upkeeping it as is, they're not really changing much. Like, even, there's a fence that I know, Dan was talking about replacing as it was, just getting rid of it, so they haven't, I don't know, you're on that committee, so what have they really done change-wise?
Well, to be honest with you, we have to submit as you know, we have to submit what our activities are gonna be for the year, and we do the pumpkin and the annual picnic and, you know, certain things, and we're kind of looking at expanding some of that, as you know, we were looking at doing something in the middle, like a snowman contest in the middle of the winter, because the library changes the story on that every first season, so we're kind of trying to looking at having activities with the seasons and the stories, so that's where we go, and we do have to go back to Jen mostly and just say this is what's happening. Like, for example, we had a live band at the last annual picnic. And so we had to get an okay that was okay. Not that there are many people.
I'm trying to broach the concept that I want to be on.
Signage and maintenance and stuff like that.
If there are similar oversights, I just want to make sure that this committee, with regard to these other town properties, has at least the latitude that Mary Grant Committee has on that property. So if there are like signs on trees or trail work that's being done and it's not necessarily going to the selectmen at any given place, I'm not trying to ask for more oversight on the Mary Grant property. I'm actually looking for the opposite. I'm trying to find where the line is as such that we don't have to go beg Jen and the selectmen every time we want to cut a piece of brush or I just want to make sure so that's why I'm asking the question, like what kind of activity has been allowed to happen on Mary Grant without necessarily, obviously activities need the 30-day notification or 10-day, you know, whatever the notification and anything that would be liability-wise is required.
Yeah, like
but I'm
we
just
do-
asking, like, if there's maintenance work on the
Yeah.
town property, do you guys have to go to them every single time? Are we allowed to do these things on the town
Independently?
lot?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know my husband, part of the house was rotted out, so they asked him to go in and fix it. And so he did. But he did that
Yeah, they do is,
voluntarily. He
Pro
did, you know, pro bono. So I don't know if they had to ask for that or just let Jen know. We also just recently painted last year. We painted the entire thing, but that was also Linda Leck, who's also on our committee's son, did that for pro bono. So I don't know. I think we did have to let them know, but I'm not sure.
Well, again, if
Oversight.
there's precedence for certain activities,
Yeah.
I would like to know where that line is,
Perfect.
as such that we're not running around begging
For
for
things.
the tiny little thing that we're gonna do.
Beg for forgiveness instead of permission.
I don't know how the board feels about that, but.
I'm not going that direction, but you see what I'm asking,
I think with Mary Grant, a lot of that stuff is being done is stuff that's already established. So I don't know what extent they had asked in the beginning, but like you said, like they already have the trails and they do like a spring cleanup every year. That we just know it's an annual event, but the committee decides what needs to be done at that spring cleanup because they know the property better than the board does because they're the ones doing all the events and stuff. But they don't necessarily like tell us like this is what we're doing. They just go and people show up and they get told the leaves or branches or stuff to do with that. So like that maintenance stuff is kind of routine now, that it's like nothing new. So I don't know if there's a difference between that.
I just wanna make sure that it's apples to apples.
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah.
And that's something I can bring up to the board tomorrow and ask like just asking for some guidance as
That'd
to
be
kind
nice.
of what level.
Like how much can we do without?
Yeah, kind of like same thing with budgeting, where we say at a certain point, when we reach a certain threshold of money.
I mean,
we
if we're
should go
putting up a
more.
sign and we're having to expend money, that's one thing I understand. But if we're like, you know, putting up a sign and just saying, hey, you're on the Acton Town Forest or something, then that seems to be well within what the Mary Grant has been given, committee has been given latitude to do. And it would be nice to know where that plus or minus, and obviously we'd have no issue with notifications and such. I just don't want it to be that we have to be, you know, waiting for 30 days, 60 days, going to town
Yeah.
meeting in order to put up a sign that says, hey, you're on the Acton Town Forest.
Yeah,
But I think we have our goals.
Yeah.
And one of the goals was use these for educational purposes.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
you know, I think if we're within our goals,
right.
you know, we'll tell them this is what we'd like to do and we're gonna do it.
Well, you say that, but then procedurally, that means we can't do anything until it's approved first. Which means technically, we can't do anything under that guidance, under that, we have not technically established our goals yet until the selectmen or the town have approved them at this town meeting. So we can talk about what our goals are all we want to, and until it passes the town meeting, technically, we have no authority to do anything.
We'll keep going until we,
I agree with you. You know what I'm saying, though? It's,
what's that, Mike?
Does the town have a list of things we can do without their permission?
No, that's what I'm asking for.
They might have,
They
they might have a list somewhere.
Like, we don't really care, like, you put a true, you know.
I'm trying not to reinvent the wheel, that's all.
No, I know, like, there was a bunch of brush that we cut back and you folks at the community decided to go through it, like, you know, spend an hour cutting it. I don't know if that would be something I don't think, but I can't say for
Like-
sure.
I'm not asking for an answer tonight, I'm just trying to
But no,
get the
most of the
concept.
budget still, yeah, I get that, and I appreciate that. 'cause it's
For
good to
example,
know.
at some point, the boundary lines are gonna have to be cleared and blazed again. So is that something, I mean, if we do that as a committee, or do we hire that out, or, you know, if we do it as a committee and volunteer and show up with axes and chainsaws and all that stuff, do we need permission from the selectmen to do that? If they're already established, of course.
Right. You
Okay.
see what I'm getting at, that's all?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think the intent is to keep pushing this educational side of it.
Yeah, that would be, I think for that piece specifically, is definitely a huge educational opportunity, not just for homeschoolers, but for like even the Acton Elementary School and main, you know, it would definitely fall under main science, you know, main studies, whatever, you know, whatever that's called.
Standards.
Well, they have an actual class called Maine Studies.
Oh, okay.
That kids have to every year have so much knowledge about Maine,
Oh, okay.
so,
Yeah, main studies, yes.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't see any action then
No,
with that at this point, other than Dan, you know, if you want to tell the board, this is the direction that we're going. I think that would be pretty good. Right?
Yeah, I think it'd be great, and then asking that question too, but.
Okay. Anything else on the town farm lot? I didn't have any new business, because I thought this was kind of important.
I guess my only new business I have is that we should, as a board, take a moment to appreciate Jim Driscoll and the loss of him today.
Okay,
He was a friend of this committee and of conservation as a whole, and he did a lot of wonderful things for this town, so it's a huge loss for us, so.
You asked.
thank you. I didn't know the guy, so. But I heard an awful lot of good things about us. Anything else? Next meeting is scheduled for the 10th, second Tuesday of the month.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, same to you. If you don't have your turkey by now,
Good luck.
Come in my backyard.
Yeah, no kidding. Not like I don't have a ton of them scratching the crap out of my yard every morning.
yeah.
December, what was it again?
10th,
Yes, okay. 6 o'clock.
yes. I'll confirm that with Jen.
All right.
Anything else?
That's it. Oh, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
Thank you.